old business before we start? I don't think so, do we? All right, okay, so we're just gonna go through what's blooming real quick. This is Landon. He's not here tonight. I think he said he had to be it is 6 o'clock, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, he said he wasn't gonna be here, tonight. He was gonna be busy, but I did give him credit in all the pictures. I said photo by Landon Moore. This is Spanish Gold, and he takes his own pictures. And if you look close enough, you can see one of his bees probably on there. And this is the Texas Blazing Star. I'm surprised that he's found such good pictures of these, to be really honest. I've been looking in the bar ditch. Our bar ditch is looking bad. And then, of course, the sunflower. And you can see she's covered in pollen. Her little legs are all covered in this. She looks pretty cool. So those are Landon's pictures. And this is just now and I live in North Wise County, and this is just now starting to come out. It's just now, because this picture right here I did take, and they're just barely starting to come on out. This is that false purple thistle. It's a wicked looking plant, but it's wickedly beautiful. I think it's a real cool plant.
Do the bees get anything from that?
They do. When I stopped in the bar ditch trudging through,
That's a bee on the picture, isn't it?
yeah, right here. There were a few girls on them. And I don't know if somebody had a hive nearby. I'm thinking that, because this was on the way to pick up some cows, and that was far northeast Wise County. Because it's really weird, because I mean, things in the south bloom way before they bloom up there in the north, and you wouldn't think that. You think we would all bloom kind of pretty much at the same time, but we don't. And so this was blooming. There were a few on there, but the cows had pretty much eaten everything in that pasture except for that woolly, oh my gosh, croton, and this. So maybe out of nothing left to eat, that's what they ate. And then of course, this has bloomed, and this is from James Johnson. And that is different than that. This is called Snow on the Prairie. And you can kind of see it scattered out. That's almost what that looks like in my pasture out there. But he looks like he's got more grass in that pasture than the one I pulled that one out of. And I brought it because, I mean, it's really sad that there was nothing growing in that pasture except for this. And you can look at this taproot and see why it survived. I just pulled that. You can see, because the dirt starts right here. That's almost 8 inches right there. So this is why this survived. And this will make something good for your birds, but the cows will not eat it. So, but that's okay. Cows don't have to eat it. They got other things to eat that you can pay for. So anyway, that's all the pictures that we have. Hopefully next month we'll have a little bit more. I have James Johnson sends me pictures, Landon Moore sends me pictures, and I just put them into the slide. They do identify them when they send them to me. So if you have something that you see some bees on and you want to take a picture of it, we'd like to get the pictures. Now his Snow on the Prairie doesn't have any bees on it, but we know that they do like the Snow on the Prairie because of the honey coming out the way it does. And so if you'd like to send them to me, go ahead. You can they send them to the club email?
That'd be a question for Amy, really.
We'll see. If not, you can just text them to me because that's what Landon does. Yes.
Big tall yellow flower at my house.
Big tall yellow, like,
It's about this tall and it's got yellow on top. My bees are bringing it in like crazy.
is it this one?
No, little bitty yellow.
Oh, little bitty yellow.
The broomweed?
Like right here?
It's probably broomweed.
Broomweed?
Those little yellow ones
next
go
to
to
it,
the
you mean?
purple,
Yeah, like right here?
Maybe something like
the
that.
sneeze
It's a
weed.
big tall thing. We got this.
Oh, if it's big tall, it's probably that broomweed. And I used to swear up and down the bees didn't eat it at my house, and then last summer, I'll be dang it. They weren't enjoying it, and that's fine. I mean, that's what they're there for. But that broomweed does take over. You gotta be very, very careful. Very careful.
Why do you have to be careful?
It takes over your pasture. It's very aggressive. And it has a very woody stalk. So the lawnmowers kind of goes boom, and so it's hard to mow down. And it has a taproot similar to this one, and it survives. The summer before last, when it was 115 degrees out, it has a taproot similar to this one. My pasture was full of it, and it was about this tall, and it was green, and we got just a little bit of rain, and it all blooms. And it stands above the grass, so it competes with your grass. So, aggressive plants not much.
But it's a good leaf plant.
Yeah.
I had to walk out my entrance today because I was puffing my hands,
Yeah.
and when I got ready to, they were just 20 or 30 of them just packed. That's awful. Waiting to get in, yeah.
Landon just showed up. Landon, I gave you credit for your pictures. Okay, good job. All right, well, that is all that we have that's blooming. And now Angelo is gonna come up and trade out computers. And he's going to do an amazing job.
Well, he does that.
Accepting this expectations of us.
Okay, we need to elect some new officers. I'm vice president, Donnie is president at the current time. Secretary, no, treasurer, and Amy, who's not here right now, is our secretary. So what's up is vice president and secretary, right? No, just president, and
Just president, Amy's gonna stay in her position.
she's gonna stay.
Yeah.
And so all we need to do is elect a new president. So do we have any nominations?
I'll nominate you, Tammy Rainey.
All right, anybody wanna second that?
I second.
Thank you. Okay, so, I accept the position as, oh, we need to vote. All those in favor?
Do we have any other, anybody?
Oh, do we have anybody else that would like to step up? How about in the back? Linda? Oh, no, please look behind. Okay, all right, so with me stepping up to president, we need a new vice president. And I nominate Lou.
Lou? Landon, you have any interest in being an officer? No.
Anybody?
Okay.
Oh, but this is a funner club. My kids will say that every day, that's funner. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? James?
No, I don't have anyone to nominate.
Nominate, all right. All those in favor of Lou?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it. Lou, you are vice president.
Okay.
And so now we need to do treasurer.
And so I nominate James Nielsen.
Nielsen, yeah, he's not here tonight.
Right.
He's the tall, skinny guy.
Are there any other nominations? Volunteers?
Volunteers? Well, I second James.
Okay.
So all those in favor of James
Aye.
as treasurer?
He's willing?
Yes,
He is
he's
willing.
He is willing.
Okay.
But if he wasn't, he should have showed up, right?
If he's not willing to do it, I want to put in 2 votes.
You wanted to what?
Put in extra votes, make him do it.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Donnie talked to him and he said that he would be okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
It sounds like the meetings at my company. If you're not there, you
Right, you get the job.
You get all the actions.
So, actually, before we start, Angelo and Andrea, we do beekeeping mainly as a hobby, but we spend quite a bit of money in all kind of research that you can imagine. We buy a lot of stuff, we do our experiment, and then we move on. The latest one that we have, that we're still going on is the insulated, highly insulated hives.
Styrofoam
Styrofoam, we have
from
2.
Lyson,
Sorry?
from Lyson,
From Lyson
really good.
and JB Lane, and they seem to be doing really well, much better than the wood one. But on that, before we start the presentation, Andrea found these pictures that were given to us by family members. We had many family members.
Yeah, so this is the guy here, he was my mom's uncle. So this was beekeeping in Brazil before the
Africanized.
Africanized bees.
In
So-
40-something.
in the late forties, early fifties, as you can see, no suit, no
Yeah.
veil, no gloves, no nothing.
No,
No clouds of bees.
Nope. The whole family used to help. That was usually behind the house in the backyard.
yeah,
The houses have bigger, very large backyards, so
but the bees were closed.
the bees were close. Even the kids, they used to help, as you can see, like they are nobody, just the bees there doing their business and people.
You can see the tiles on the top of the bee hives.
Yeah, that's to protect from the sun.
And now come proof that they did not use any equipment. This is a nun inspecting the frame.
And she has
Nothing.
nothing. No gloves, no veil, no nothing. She has a lot of faith. Yes.
And there's a woman on the
Behind
side
her, yes.
with, no, I don't know about that hat, if there's a veil or not, but.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look
Yeah,
like it.
exactly. And we have, I think, one more.
They're
There,
like holding the
another
frame.
inspection.
Here he has some gloves on, but no veil, no nothing. So the Africanized bees, they were experiments from some crazy Brazilian people that decided to join, to mix the DNA of the Africanized bees with European bees. And so in 1956, they started experimenting with some bees. And so they produce a lot of honey, but they start getting very aggressive. So in 1957, 26 queens swarmed from the facility where they had the experiment going, and then from there it's just took over of everything very quickly. Those beehives that you saw, so my aunt told me that her father, when the bees became very aggressive to the point that, you know, like they were attacking horses and pigs and chickens and people, and the animals are dying and everything. So he went there at night, he closed the beehives and he just set on fire. That was the only way
Yeah, that was,
to control what was going on. So
the problem was so severe that,
that was the only way to
Yeah,
control
safety.
everything.
Safety.
Yes,
Hmm?
yes, and especially
Yeah.
because the people at that time, they used to live inside a company that has like a huge property. So all the employees used to live in villages inside. And so then, you know, it was very dangerous for everybody, so then they decided to just eliminate all the bees by burning.
yeah, my father's apiary, I was born in 62 and probably was in that, around the 70s. It was very far from our house. It was in the middle of a forest. Somebody made a clearing, I don't know if it was my father or what, but I think he had about 25 to 30 hives there, but they were mean. If you just passed close and talking, that was enough. So, you're not welcome. All right, so. So we heard a lot of stuff here about the Africanized bees, and since we are always traveling to Brazil and into the interior of Brazil almost every year, we decided to, just bring some of the horror stories and fun facts about the Africanized bees. And these are more or less the points that we're gonna go through, a little bit of the pros and cons. Some people may say that there are no pros, but we'll go through that, okay? So, how do you feel up to 10 swarms a year
From one hive.
from each hive, more or less? okay?
It's a lot.
So, all it takes for a full-scale attack, and I mean all the bees in the hive on you, is one sneeze. Okay, we heard a guy in one of the universities that we visited that he said that when they were getting to the apiary, it was kind of muddy and the truck was, slipping a little bit. That noise was enough for the bees to come and cover the truck. And now those suckers did not have the bee suits yet.
Yeah.
They could not get out. So he managed to start, the
Wipers.
windshield wipers back up and back to the highway. And the bees were for miles and miles still holding to the truck.
They're mean.
That was the best so far. So the standard configuration you will see is a one deep and kind of one medium. This is a bit something that there's a lot of discussion in Brazil. We're gonna cover a little bit of that. But the average Brazilian beekeeper is an extremely poor person with no knowledge. And what we found by actually going to meetings like this, but in Brazil, was that the beekeeping guys, the state association in our state was publishing information that those guys could not even read because it was full of technical jargon. Instead of 2 pages of very simple stuff like, hey, when you see this flower here, start feeding your bees because the honey flow is 40 days away and you need to have numbers. So what happens is they don't feed the bees before the honey flow, they don't have the numbers, and the production sucks.
And the another problem was that, so they have a program that they gave it away,
30,000 hives.
hives. Too small, families, like middle of nowhere, very simple people. And people put that close to their houses because they want to take care of, kind of like be looking for, but then,
Well, that didn't go well. Okay, so, finish the
They
point.
gave regular bees, 300 regular bees, or
Sorry?
330.
said the government gave 300,
30,000
30,000
Beehives.
hives,
For the
regular beehives, or?
regular beehives.
regular hives, like one deep,
Yeah,
one
one
medium, like for them to start,
They
and
weren't
then,
Africanized yet.
well, the bees,
No.
in Brazil,
The-
all,
The bees since 1956.
they're
All.
all, there's no,
Oh my God.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. In the DNA, at least that we read, when a queen mates with multiple drones, let's say only 5 of them there's some Africanized traits. When she starts laying, the first DNA that she uses is the Africanized one. That's the main reason for the fast spread that we saw. And with the 10 swarms a year, she just saw the other day, was it today that you were seeing in the internet that they can cover 200 miles
a year,
a year,
so they're moving
very fast.
very fast, so.
But in this continent, they reach the limit where they can go, which is about here. It's very hard for them to move to colder places, to the point that more or less to the same latitude, going south, from Uruguay south, you don't have Africanized bees. And Argentina, with only 30 days of honey flow, produces more honey than Brazil with 5.
But then their bees are not as aggressive
Yeah.
as the one in Brazil.
It's a matter of management. They can have the bees close, they can have more bees, in Brazil, you drive around, whatever you are, you don't see a single hive. The hives are in the middle of nowhere, where no one can see, no one can reach, We went to one from a commercial beekeeper in the Brazilian interior, and I tell you, this is scary. I wish I had my gun when I went there.
And some of, so we went to a university, a federal university there, so they where they have hives and everything, and then so they because they teach the students. And so they were talking about like sometimes people from the neighborhood, they come at night and put fire on.
Set the hives on fire.
Because they are afraid of.
Or because they are stung and they associate with the nightmare. So small hive beetles were confirmed in June 2016, but later observations show that the bees are so aggressive that those beetles have no chance. They made no difference. Well, you see, we have a silver line on that all over the place.
So that's a pro.
It is?
Yeah, there's another one from the last book from Thomas Seeley, is that the Africanized bees seems to be a lot less sensitive to mites. I don't know. The most impressive that we got from the people that are commercial beekeepers or schools there, in warm nights with full moon, the bees are working.
All night.
They're flying.
Summer can be very hot, not as hot as here, but hot. So it's a full moon, hot night, they're just
Have you
in
ever
and out,
seen
in and
that?
out.
Anyone here?
I prayed for it, but I have not seen
Good employees, right?
it.
As alternative in Brazil, people are switching to, for a long time, to stingless bees. Stingless bees obviously has a big advantage, they don't have a stinger. But they produce a very different honey. Very high content, water content, ferment very easy. There's a lot of, you have to keep in the fridge and the whole bit, and it's very little. It
Production
costs
is
a
very
lot of
little,
money.
yes.
That's the setup. And the stingless bees hive is this one, you guys can see later on.
This is one of the many different kinds
Yeah,
that they can have.
different kinds. These are the honey supers. They build here blobs of honey with wax. And the way they harvest is using a syringe. This-
Oh,
And suck that out.
so that's actually to scale?
Yes, it
that's-
is.
No, this is
Yes.
it,
Oh, I
yeah.
thought it was like an educational
No,
video.
No.
that
That's
is
cool.
This is the brood nest. Remember, the bee is, most of
very
them
little.
are very tiny, like a
Fly.
Okay.
Yeah.
even smaller than that. But they have many kinds. Some of the bees are a little bit bigger, they use different hives, but we saw people in Brazil in apartments that have like 10 of this in the balcony. So you guys are welcome to take a look later.
That's cool.
It's neat.
Will those stingless bees live here? Do you know if there are stingless bees like that out here?
Yes, there are.
Well, we know that they have in Mexico, because that was one of the first things that were shown to the conquistadors by the Aztecs.
Okay.
They had about, I don't remember the number, 200 hives, whatever. So the process of harvesting honey from insect is old. Honestly, I don't know. If you guys haven't seen ever, probably they didn't make to
Not to my knowledge,
Texas.
in Texas at least.
Yeah. Where we used to live, São Paulo State in Brazil, it's a lot closer to the equator than we are in Texas. So here is a much different climate than. All right, go ahead, Andre.
That's
I'm tired.
No, just keep going.
Right,
Keep
chop,
going.
chop.
Keep going.
You have to earn your hour.
Johnny already did it. Keep going.
So 32 to 40 pounds of honey a year, they can get in a very, very good scenario between $3.50 to $6 a pound. But that is if you really have a good spot to sell. We talked to commercial beekeepers again that were complaining, they were struggling to get $1 per pound. Okay.
And that's,
So that's the reality of that. So half a pound of honey for the stingless bees costs about $16. Curiosity there that the Brazilian consumes 3.5 ounces a year of honey while we consume 20.8, which explains a lot.
Yes.
35,000 registered known apiaries, with near 1 million people employed. That's the industry in Brazil. Estimate 45,000 tons a year is the national production. Again, Argentina, which is much smaller footprint, produces more. 90% of the apiaries have less than 50 hives, and the reason is, it is tax-free.
up to 49. So,
And amazing.
so here are the Africanized bees in Americas and
Yeah,
then they,
This is a progression of the bees moving from Brazil in the 1956, how they got to United States, 1993 in Mexico, 1998 something in Texas. They cover a lot of ground.
Do you know how many miles that is, Angelo?
That's a very good
It's a
question.
lot, it's a lot.
well, you know, like when we fly,
Yeah.
so it is 4,600 miles, more or less.
Wow.
I don't know, it is
5
9 hours and a
5,000.
half.
Yes, it's 9 hours and a half of straight flight from here
Wow.
to Brazil, so yeah, so that it's a
So-
lot of,
These are places where the Africanized bees were seen. As you can see, we are.
They like Oklahoma, don't they?
yes, they do.
Mhm.
In California, they can stay right there.
All right, keep going.
So this is where they came from.
Africa,
This-
which, by the way, they are not aggressive.
Not as
In Africa, the
Africanized.
pure blood,
The problem was the mix between
The
the
mix.
African bee and the European bee. Something on their genetic did not work well, so they became very aggressive, so. It was,
yeah, on that, something that we also read in the venom and honey, right?
yeah,
Book, is that something that people saw in Brazil already, the Africanized bees hate fresh cut grass smell and banana. So if you have a buddy that you like very much, give him banana before you do the inspection. The bees will be, oh yeah, dude. So that seems to be something confirmed by many people, especially the African bee, that came from the African bee. Right? Comparison between, can you guys read this? So, very interesting data points. Stinging rate of 40 a minute for the Africanized.
So their stinger doesn't come out?
Oh, yes.
it does, they do die. It's exactly the same, but
Okay.
because there is so many bees in each hive
Okay.
that they really, When I was young, we were attacked by a swarm of Africanized bees. That was scary. Like we got into a bar we locking ourselves in the bathroom, and the bees were coming from the window, and it was a nightmare. My sister, she's allergic to bees, and she almost died. So, to the point that my mom took her to the road, because we were at the beach, so we were at the shore, and my mom took her to the road, stopped the car and said, take her to the hospital, put her in somebody else's car that she had no idea where they're taking her.
Somebody that they didn't know who there was, so desperate they were.
Because she was covered in stings and she was almost dying, so that was not other way. We didn't have a car close by, so then it was scary. It's
Yeah.
really bad.
So they can chase you beyond 400 yards.
And they have a memory. They remember you.
Yeah, they have a
So,
very
yeah,
good.
so then.
Well, after one sting you, it's like putting a flag, right?
Yeah.
Sting here. To calm down, it takes hours. So it's very, very hard to handle that. It's not backyard friendly. The production, everybody says that they produce more. They have a much different pattern of foraging. The European bees have the dance and they decide in groups where to go to forage. The Africanized bees are mainly individual. They just take off from the hive and they go solo. That's what we read. Okay, so that seems to justify the higher yield. The problem is management. In order to realize the higher production of honey, you have to know how to manage those 10 swarms a year, the aggressiveness, and the whole bit. If not, you just don't get it because the bees take off with the bounty. Any questions on that? I mean, this is just curiosity.
The queen
Oh.
can lay up to 5,000
5,000
eggs a
eggs
day.
per day.
So it's a
Right.
lot of
I
bees.
just got one question, is all your data available on a site or anything, or?
Yeah, we do have a reference page
Okay.
on the
Yeah,
last
that-
slide.
Yeah, that'd be great. to
Yes.
Yeah,
we do
but-
have-
Use that data later.
You will find data saying this or saying that. When we learn about beekeeping books or information, is that you have to be very careful to see if the books were written by the same, at least in the same climate or climate zone. Because if you read what Australians say that they do in the spring and what the Brazilians do or what we do in the spring,
It's completely different.
it doesn't match.
So the data that you're showing right now is which climate?
That's in Brazil.
This is mainly for Brazil.
It's made from Brazil, yes. Probably most of the reference is gonna be in Portuguese,
Yes.
since that it's
Yeah.
our first language, so for
And
us
we
it's no problem, so.
bought Brazil, but we also were gift books from before 1953. We have books all the way to 1937 that we both acquired in Brazil one way or the other. And in Portugal, in our last trip, we were buying books about beekeeping over there. Some of them had meat recipes. Good. Right.
638.
Okay. Pros and cons, again, high productivity, debatable. If you don't know how to manage, you don't get it. It is proven to be resistant to a lot of diseases. They were tough. The measure aggressiveness is decreasing over time. Noted that in Puerto Rico, there are Africanized bees that people are handling with bare hands already. So depending on the environment, the aggressiveness is calming down significantly.
Are they saying why? Is that because they're breeding with local or European and it's just kind of over time?
I don't know.
So it looks like from what we read, because they have a lot of hurricanes coming through Puerto Rico, so then many beehives were destroyed. And so what is starting again, since they are an island, so then they are more isolated from others, like it's not like here that we are in a big continent coming all the way from South America to Central and North America, so the bees can continue there, so the bees cannot be. So
Yeah.
then they're just like the bees
Yeah.
that are left, then they are creating a new ones, and then they're seeing that they are less aggressive than some past generations.
So isolation, I read in one of the articles that they claim that there's something to do with lack of predators or any other animal interfering with the bees, so the bees kind of let their guard down because.
And over time, they just aren't as defensive because there's.
Exactly, because there is no issue, right?
That makes sense too.
And
But the other one, for 1 second, that I read a long time ago was that when the same process that happened in Brazil, that the people had to burn the hives, in the island, it was a lot more, how to say, effective, because if the bees were close to any area and they were given trouble, they were killed. So it was a kind of a natural selection process, just the calm ones survived.
so what we learned in one of our visits to the apiary at the university there in Brazil is that they are bringing queens from Argentina in the beginning of spring. So they are killing the current queen and putting an Argentinian one, trying to get the aggressiveness a little bit down. So looks like it's been helping. So
But you needed a huge volume to make difference, you know?
Yeah.
Like you have to have like 500 hives and be buying 500.
Yeah, it's not gonna spread as fast as the Africanized spread. It's gonna be a much slower spread and it's
Correct.
gonna take a lot longer
Yeah.
to recover it, yeah.
Yeah, to purify now, you have to do something like what you're doing in Germany. I don't know if you guys read about that, but they have islands dedicated to breed certain types of bees. Because the islands are far enough out of the continent, right? Where, you know, out of anywhere that you can, keep
Actually,
the purity
yeah.
of that DNA.
So when I first started beekeeping, I have a friend in Florida that kind of explained a few things to me and was kind of surprised the differences in how we do things. Because in Florida, if you catch a swarm, you have to kill and replace the queen. And it's their way of reducing the Africanized genetics. And so if you catch a swarm, you're supposed to register, so there's a lot more stuff like that. I think it's probably the only way we do it. We'd have to be more aggressive all over to try to reduce it.
We had to kill one queen up to now, for the swarm that we got in Brock. Those guys were so bad that in the second inspection, I had closed already the hive. We were going to the car. I pulled the hive to it on Andrea. Wait in the car. I'm going to kill that bitch. And I did.
Just so you
Well,
don't
he
know.
told me the rule that he used, and I kind of remember this, and it matched up with what the statistics you had, is he said his rule is if he's 50 feet away from his hive and the bees are still coming at him, it's too aggressive. But if it's 100 feet away, he's eliminating that hive. He's not the hive, he's replacing the
the
queen.
queen.
And that's about the 30 yards that the European would be, the 100 feet, so above 30 yards, it's got some Africanized. And also, if he comes out of his house an hour later and goes out and looks at the hive and they come after him, they're up next for requeening, and that's similar to what you're saying. Because I had one really bad hive that an hour later, playing catch with my dogs, they both got stung.
Tony
Actually,
has
like 3 hours.
seen me once do that. Wait for him outside the door.
I had a hive that came every day to my house for 3 days and pecked on my windows. trying to get in my house for 3 days.
So what did we do with that hive?
Well, we killed the queen.
Yeah,
Done.
You sent the exterminator.
yes.
Huh?
You're a hitman.
Hitman.
You're hitman.
Again, just don't mention that to the law enforcement.
We have some Brazil today, so.
So, Brazilian institutions are working to, provide a little bit more support. Our 2 cents for those guys were, dude, the people that we met in the middle of the country cannot read what you're issuing. You have to change something like that. They are trying to make sure that those guys are feeding the bees between 50 to 60 days prior to the honey flow to have a very strong hive. Brazil has a state and national beekeeping institutions, such as the Apacami, where we attend many meetings. Again, federal government tried to help, giving away 30,000 hives, and there was no measurable benefit of doing it. Okay, I have no idea how much 30,000 hives cost in Brazil, but somebody made money.
Was the result that those 30,000 became somewhat Africanized as well?
No, they just had
They just had-
Africanized.
They were already
Oh.
Africanized.
Oh, they're already?
They're already there.
Oh, I'm gonna give you an Africanized.
Yes, exactly.
30,000 of them.
There you go.
That's the only thing.
Johnny wants one.
Yeah.
That's the only
Just
game
one.
in town.
So the people work with Africanized bees. They get the suit on, they go out there, they smoke them, and they get by with it.
Y'all have a picture of the smoker that they use? It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like a 25-gallon drum.
Yeah, it's bad.
One person runs it.
Yeah, well, the other
Actually, for
person.
this, we do have one person just, like when we were at the university. So we went there and then they gave us their suits that they use and everything, and then we were helping them doing inspections. And they were just like the brood nest. So at the time that we went, because it was winter time, so there was just the brood nest. And they do have a person that is just there kind of like making sure that the bees are smoked all the time, because things can get pretty nasty pretty quickly, so.
Yeah, but we have to be very careful when we go to these places, not to offend anyone, right? Because they have their practice. And they have, these people have been doing that for decades plus.
Yeah.
And you tell them, hey, you don't have a second honey super, why is that?
There is a very good honey, especially in our city, that we are from, Calheiras in São Paulo, that it's eucalyptus honey. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's that because there is a paper company, so then we have like acres and acres and acres of eucalyptus plantation. So then when that is blooming,
Yes.
that it's.
More like thousands and thousands of acres.
Yes.
And some of these companies
Goes from
actually
different
let you.
states. Starting in one state and goes to another state, and then because they're so large. So
Wow.
it's- Yeah.
They let you put the hives in the property, and when I was very young, there was this gigantic eucalyptus tree. When, I think it was July, the blooming time, the tree gets all white with flowers, and you can hear from like 50 yards away, the buzzing of all the bees foraging there. It was amazing. Okay, how far are we?
That's it.
That's it?
Those are the references.
References?
You want a picture, that would be your references.
So.
This guy here lived in my hometown.
Yeah.
We actually got into the meetings because he was a director of that institution, and he was always inviting us when we were available.
Actually, he's the third generation of
Yeah.
beekeeping, doing that in
Three
cities, so
generations.
that, yes. And was from our beehive when we used to live in Delaware. So that was
Facing
39,
flights?
90 degrees, and they were flying. You used to say that the bees did not go out. We had days that we have lower temperature than that, and we saw the bees going out and flying. Yes. So
Anything else?
that's it, that's the last one.
All right.
That's it, guys?
You said that was in Delaware?
Yes,
Delaware.
yeah, that's where we lived for 20 years before we came to Texas, so.
And we used to take like out of 6 producing hives, not all the hives were there to produce honey. We used to take between 300, 350 pounds of honey
In Delaware?
in Delaware.
Mainly,
Yeah.
clover and mixed flowers because, so we were in the city and behind our house we have,
State Park.
state park, which has 220 acres. So they have a lot of grass, a lot of trees. So then we start seeing by the end of February, the bees are like start bringing pollen from the maple. Has a lot of
By the
maple
second week,
trees.
sometimes even earlier in February, the bees come in a lot of,
Pollen.
so the hive is already gearing for the spring. That's the moment that they die if you don't feed them. Because, you know, they start rearing brood, and they start laying. If you're running low in honey, early March, all the bees are dead.
Oh, wow.
And we fed our bees there all winter long.
Yeah.
They used to say, oh, the bees, they don't eat during the winter. Our ones did. Because the food was there. So if they needed, they,
No, and I was replacing it every week, more or less, every 2 weeks. Didn't give too much.
but a little bit.
The trick was that we have a plywood with a hole where you fit
The jar.
the jar, the mason jar. Put a medium on the top and something to insulate, because we had up to temperature down to 6 degrees, 10 degrees in Delaware. But guess what? You go there, the bees cluster right under the jar. So you go there with the thermometer, the infrared,
Yeah.
and the jar is actually 40
Wow.
degrees. Because of the bees are heating. It works really well because the jar never freezes. So they keep eating. I go there, change every other week. Come early March, the bees have the food stores completely full. When we put the honey supers, they immediately start feeling that. And
We used to harvest twice a year, in the beginning, like around
yeah,
May, and then again in September. But end of September, beginning of October. But then had 1 year that we traveled, so then we left until like the end of September. And so there was the spring and summer honey mixed
the mix
together.
was
So the mix was
phenomenal.
really good.
So then we adopt the lazy.
Yes.
Well, wait a second. Y'all have any questions for them?
Are y'all here in Wise County?
Parker.
Parker County, we are 10 minutes from Azle.
Yep.
Okay,
Do you have one of those in your yard working now, just regular?
No, we tried.
we tried to attract a swarm. In Brazil, if you put this out, somebody will claim it, okay? Her sister just sent a picture
Yes.
of a swarm of stingless bees that took a hole in,
A post, a wooden post that she has a lamp. And then, so the post is an old one, so it has some cracks on it. And then the bees, they already,
Yeah.
people start building the comb in there and everything.
Yeah.
We have, in our house there in Brazil, we have a stone wall. And close to the gate, that was these stingless bees. So then they were inside the wall. And then every day they build a little kind of like chimney coming out of wax, but at night they used to close that.
Yeah.
So nobody gets in, and then in the morning they used to put it up, and then
They're so
they
clever.
are, so yes. But they were very teeny tiny, like they looked like those sweat flies or something like that, yeah, so they were very little ones, so.
Yeah, so in Brazil, it's, if you put this kind of stuff, they will claim it. Actually, when we visit the commercial apiary,
They have some.
the guy had a lot of swarm traps in the area, because he said that there was quarry, and all the cracks that the quarry, because of the explosion, the quarry left, the bees get in the holes, right? So it was a very hot spot for him to get swarm. Again, over there, they don't need to swat to kill the queen, because African as is the only thing that they have.
Yeah.
But in a lot of the swarm traps, instead of getting their regular honeybee, they got stingless bee.
Wow.
That he also sold.
And
Oh, yeah.
some of the species that we have, there are, like, you cannot take them off the wild. They
Right.
need to be left alone, because there are so many, there are so little of them that it's kind of like, you know, if they catch you in your car with that, you go to jail.
Sure.
Yeah, in theory, in Brazil, the only honeybee that you can manage
It's
is
the Africanized ones.
the Apis mellifera or whatever kind that they have. If you're caught transporting one of these with bees in there, you're in serious trouble.
Oh, wow.
It's easier to buy a gun in Brazil than buying a chainsaw.
It is illegal to own a.
It's illegal to
Really?
have a chainsaw.
Residents. So.
Yeah, there's again, when you go to other countries, you have to be careful
Yeah.
what you say, you know, you don't want to offend anyone. Like the guy that we visited in Portugal, we were more than 50 yards away from the hives. We were going to the hive, we're not coming from, going.
And they were
And the
coming,
bees were on us.
Alright.
There was a cloud of bees already on us. The Iberian bees, oh my God. Very nasty.
Tony, was you gonna ask him something?
I was just gonna add, you know, on that jar feeder that, we use